Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Halo, apa kabar kalian semuanya? Mudah-mudahan sehat walafiat. Jumpa lagi bersama saya Mami Omar di sini. Di video ini, Mami Omar mau bikin reaction mengenai 15 kesalahan dari penyiaran berita yang dilakukan oleh Al Jazeera. Sebelumnya, saya pun mau minta maaf kepada kalian kalau di video ini ada kata-kata saya yang kurang berkenan dan menyinggung perasaan kurang, mohon untuk dimaafkan. Dan jika ada yang kurang betul atau poin-poin yang memang kurang tepat, mohon untuk dibetulkan di kolom komentar ya. Jangan lewatkan juga untuk klik tombol subscribe dan nyalakan loncengnya untuk update video selanjutnya. Like jika kalian suka dengan video ini, tinggalkan komen untuk support channel cerita Mami Omar. Other sides of the truth, bikin kesimpulan bahwa Al Jazeera membuat berita yang salah. Dan kesalahan tersebut ada 15 kesalahan yang dibuat oleh media Al Jazeera mengenai lockdown di Malaysia.
This is a recent video that was published, and unfortunately it has so many mistakes, and so we're going to pick the top 15 to cover today. Number 15, taking videos and footages of police and military.
I've got my ID. Look, this is my ID. I'm from the press. Again,
This is lockdown area. No camera, please.
but we're within our rights to report from here.
Oh, yeah. But this lockdown area.
Throughout the entire world, you really can't be taking footage of police and military. So many countries, that's illegal. Even in the United States, if you took video footage of the security around the White House, that could get you thrown in jail. Well, Al Jazeera thinks that because they're reporters, they're above everybody else. Number 14, complaining that they weren't allowed into high-risk areas of COVID-19.
We're not allowed inside these fenced-off areas.
Now, I don't know if they don't realize how COVID-19 works. It spreads pretty easily, and so if they were able to go into an area that was high risk, they could easily pick up COVID-19, especially when you look at the video footage and realize that lots of times they weren't wearing a mask, or they only were wearing a mask. I mean, look at how many doctors who were completely prepared, had tons of protection, picked up COVID-19. Number 13, blocking comments. You need to always allow comments, but in this video, they have blocked all comments on YouTube. You need to allow people to...
Saya juga nonton dulu videonya dari berita Al Jazeera mengenai Malaysia ini, dan memang pertama kali saya lihat itu gak ada komen sama sekali karena memang media Al Jazeera ini memblok komen untuk video ini. Karena mereka tahu kalau misalkan dibuka komen pasti akan banyak sekali warga Malaysia ataupun bukan warga Malaysia yang akan kontra dengan video yang mereka buat dengan
be able to point out when you don't do things that are accurate or when you do things really biased. But if you don't allow comments, people can't point those out. And I just think as a reporter, it's so unprofessional to block comments. I really don't think YouTube should allow that. Number 12, complaining that the government never responded.
Several requests to interview the Senior Minister, Home Minister and his deputies were declined.
Alright, Mr. Drew Ambrose. Well, the government's a little bit busy. They're fighting this thing called COVID-19, which is extremely deadly and spreads super easy, and sorry, they probably didn't have time to answer every single question you had because they're busy fighting the disease. So, please, man, get off your high horse. Not everybody can take time out of their life to serve you. Right, dude? Like, have a reality check. Number 11.
Pemerintah memang betul-betul sibuk ya. Jangankan untuk membahas dengan media luar, untuk media Malaysia sendiri pasti mereka sangat sibuk untuk menangani wabah COVID ini.
Forgetting how racism works.
Is this the practical reality of dealing with a pandemic? Or is it racism?
Okay, if you're not aware, racism was mentioned multiple times in the video. How racism works is where you judge a group of people based on their skin color. And in this instance, it would be people of Indian descent or people that look Indian. And if you're not aware, there are multiple Malaysians, actually over 7% of Malaysians are of Indian descent. They look exactly like migrant workers that are both legal and illegal. So if the Malaysian government was racist, they would be targeting anybody that looked Indian, Bangladeshi, or Pakistani. But the Malaysian government specifically was doing things for illegal immigrants. And anyone that was of Indian descent that was Malaysian, they would be targeting. And if you're not aware, there are multiple Malaysians, actually over 7% of Malaysians are of Indian descent. And if you're not aware, there are multiple Malaysians, actually over 7% of Malaysians are of Indian descent. So if the Malaysian government specifically was doing things for illegal immigrants, and anyone that was of Indian descent that was Malaysian, they were fine. They had no complaints. So this is clearly not a racism issue. This is an illegal immigration issue. And those are different things. To call it racism is just completely wrong and out of place. Number 10, ignoring countries that are extremely racist.
Number 11 ini aku juga mau ngasih tambahan bahwa ini adalah bukan tentang rasis. Ini adalah mengenai bagaimana Kerajaan Malaysia menangani pekerja ilegal. Conference pemerintah Malaysia bahwa tidak betul untuk Al Jazeera ini mengenai berita yang disampaikan untuk menangani pekerja ilegal. Pun lihat mereka memperlakukannya dengan betul dan hati-hati agar tidak menjadikan tempat penularan COVID. Negara mana sih di dunia yang membolehkan siapa saja untuk tinggal dan menikmati keindahan, pesona, dan kekayaan negaranya dengan ilegal? Kan Indonesia membicarakan hal ini dengan pihak pemerintah Malaysia untuk menarik pulang warga negaranya yang ilegal, meminta bekerja sama dengan pemerintah Malaysia untuk mengatasi pekerja migran ilegal dengan cara yang baik. Dan alhamdulillah kerajaan pun memang mensupport, kerajaan sangat setuju.
Racist towards their migrant workers. I've traveled all around the world and I have several friends that are migrant workers, and there are several places where I discovered that people were very racist towards migrant workers. And actually in Malaysia, migrant workers are treated better than almost anywhere else in the world. Here, locals of a different country call legal migrant workers lazy, messy, unhygienic. Number 9, treating illegal migrant workers like they're all victims. Illegal migrant workers have specifically not obeyed the law and are working illegally. Even in your own video, you have a human rights lawyer, somebody that really supports undocumented illegal migrant workers. And she points out that this illegal migrant worker didn't do anything and that she can't really support him because he put in no effort to try to be legal.
Okay, did he attempt to go to the Labour Department to file a case against his employer?
And throughout this video, you often show that they are victims when they could have just put in some effort to make sure that they obeyed the law and got a working visa. Number 8, saying the jobs that migrant workers are working, Malaysians don't want to work. And it's probably true. There are several jobs that Malaysians would prefer that migrant workers did. But in the video, you show how there used to be 60 jobs at the market that migrant workers worked. And when they set out applications, they had over 500 Malaysians apply for that job. So clearly, in this job, Malaysians wanted to work it, but their jobs were taken by migrant workers.
Muhammad ran a recruitment drive to replace the foreign workers with locals. 500 Malaysians applied for just 60 positions.
Mereka pun memang membutuhkan pekerja migran dan diperlakukan dengan sangat baik karena pekerja migran tersebut bekerja dengan baik, jujur, dan bekerja keras. Pemerintah Malaysia tidak ingin mempekerjakan warga negara asing. Siapa yang bilang seperti itu? Buktinya, selama saya di Indonesia itu masa PKPD, husband punya grup WhatsApp, pun punya grup Facebook dengan expat. Mereka semua ingin kembali ke Malaysia. Kenapa? Kalau misalkan pemerintah Malaysia tidak memperlakukan expat dengan sangat baik, dengan sangat adil, untuk apa mereka bekerja keras dan ingin kembali ke Malaysia? Untuk apa mereka berusaha menghubungi kerajaan, menghubungi immigration agar mereka bisa kembali ke Malaysia? Tentu itu terbukti bahwa Malaysia di dalam hal ini adalah kerajaan dan juga warganya memperlakukan pekerja migran dengan sangat baik, memperlakukan warga asing dan membagi pekerjaan juga dengan warga asing. Warga asing boleh bekerja di Malaysia selama mereka mengikuti aturan, selama warga negara asing itu pun patuh kepada aturan kerajaan dan memperlakukan warga negara Malaysianya dengan sangat baik, hidup berdampingan. Dan kami alhamdulillah aman-aman dan nyaman di sini. Yes.
Everybody in their country and who had it and who didn't. But when you have 4 million illegal immigrants and there's no way to trace them, you're putting your entire country at huge risk. And putting this in the video is so important because then people can kind of understand why the Malaysian government might be trying to figure out who's illegal in Malaysia because it affects the safety of all Malaysians. Number 6, acting like sitting in the sun and getting questioned about if you're legally working in Malaysia is like the worst thing in the world.
He says his whole family, including his son and daughter, were handcuffed and chained together with other children and the elderly under the hot sun. They were only released hours later after authorities verified their documents.
Alright, right now COVID-19 is happening. There are so many children around the world that are losing parents to COVID-19 and are going to be raised without their father or mother. And you are upset that a daughter had to sit out in the sun? I mean, if this is the worst thing that happens in your COVID-19 experience, you are very blessed because so many people around the world would give anything to be able to sit out in the sun a few hours and know that their country is safe.
Masya Allah.
Number 5, forgetting that everybody is going through a really hard time right now. It's not just the illegal migrant workers or the migrant workers. Malaysians as well are going through a hard time.
Yes, betul. Selama masa COVID ini semuanya adalah masa kesusahan, bukan hanya pekerja migran ilegal.
People struggling are illegal migrant workers and migrant workers is unfair. Everybody is going through a hard time. Number 4, being very misleading and not always honest. For example, handcuffing children. I really don't think this happened. Do you have any footage? Do you have any proof? Do you have anything more than 1 or 2 people saying it happened? And regardless, if children are handcuffed, I mean, it's not the end of the day. It doesn't hurt them. Oh, big deal. I mean, come on. I'm a dentist. I have to treat kids' teeth all the time. That's way worse and way more painful than getting handcuffed. But I do it because it's for the good of the kid overall. So just because something's inconvenient or unpleasant, not everybody lives in a fairy tale land. But regardless, I think that was pretty inaccurate. Migrant workers. Hey, listen to this.
And anti-immigration Facebook groups have been telling illegal migrants to go home.
Did you catch it? One word changes the entire structure of the sentence, and that's how media can be very misleading. He says, anti-immigration Facebook group, but the page he's showing is an anti-illegal immigration Facebook group. And there's a big difference between anti-immigration and anti-illegal immigration.
101 East investigates why so many foreigners are being locked up in Malaysia's lockdown.
Even in the intro summary, you got it wrong. You're not investigating foreigners, all foreigners. No, you're investigating illegal foreigners. You need to say the word illegal. Number 2, completely not understanding how you fight COVID-19.
Authorities have been carrying out military-style operations across the capital, Kuala Lumpur.
COVID-19 is a time where you need to be strict. You can't allow people moving all around. You need to be very, very strict because if one person with COVID-19 moves and goes about, they can easily spread it to so many more people. And so COVID-19 is a time that you need to have a military-style lockdown because that's the only thing that works. It worked in Taiwan, it worked in Hong Kong, it worked in China, it worked in South Korea, and it also worked in Malaysia. And in this video, you make it sound like a military-style lockdown is a bad thing. No, that is an amazingly good thing. And the USA and many other countries in the Americas have not done that, and look at the results. Wouldn't you rather have a little bit of a military-style lockdown and save thousands of lives? I think most people would be in favor of that. Number 1, never saying the good things about Malaysia. Malaysia is an incredible success story. I would recommend you check out this video or this
Incredible
video.
Success
Trust me,
story,
they're well
memang.
done, and the person that made them is pretty cool. Anyway, regardless, Malaysia did such an amazing job. I mean, it was amazing to see how people from all different backgrounds, famous and average citizens, all came together for the good of Malaysia. And I think that's really important to talk about in this video when you're going to be talking about COVID-19. And that was completely ignored and completely wrong to ignore that in making this video. So those were my top 15 things that were mistakes in Malaysia's lockdown video.
Kalau menurut saya dari semua 15 mistakes in locked up in Malaysia lockdown ini, jadi 15 kesalahan yang diberitakan oleh media Al Jazeera mengenai lockdown Malaysia, semuanya saya sangat setuju. Saya sebagai warga negara asing di Malaysia dan selama saya tinggal di sini, kami memiliki dokumen yang sah, mengikuti aturan pemerintah, hidup berdampingan dengan warga negara Malaysia, dan alhamdulillah tidak ada masalah. Dan pemerintah Malaysia pun memperlakukan kami dengan sangat baik, dan warga negara Malaysia pun sama. Dikatakan bahwa pemerintah Malaysia memperlakukan pekerja migran dengan secara tidak wajar, bahkan diperlakukan layaknya seperti binatang, itu sangat-sangat salah. Tetapi kerajaan memperlakukan pekerja migran ilegal dengan cara seperti itu hanya untuk memutuskan rantai penyebaran COVID. Cara yang sangat ketat atau terlalu ketat, memang ini adalah cara yang terbaik yang dilakukan, karena COVID-19 ini bukanlah sebuah lelucon, bukan sebuah permainan yang bisa dilakukan dengan percobaan atau coba-coba, tetapi memang yang dilakukan oleh pemerintah Malaysia sudah sangat baik, sangat ketat, sangat berhasil kalau menurut saya. Melalui cara-cara seperti ini, pemerintah Malaysia merupakan cara yang sangat berhasil. Buktinya apa? Buktinya sekarang warga negara asing yang sah, yang ilegal sudah boleh masuk lagi ke Malaysia, bekerja lagi seperti sedia kala. Anak-anak pun sudah bisa mulai sekolah lagi. Aktivitas lain pun sudah mulai berjalan. Jika memang dikatakan ini terlalu ekstrim, memang terlalu ekstrim, tapi kalau memang tidak dilakukan dengan cara seperti ini, pasti akan sangat lambat sekali keberhasilannya. Korban berjatuhan bukan hanya warga negara Malaysia, mungkin juga warga negara asing yang legal, yang ilegal, yang bekerja di Malaysia. Sepertinya kalau menurut saya, reporter Al Jazeera ini, kenapa dia membuat berita hoax seperti ini, sangat sekali tidak ada manfaatnya. Warga negara asing ataupun pekerja migran yang ada di luar Malaysia saat ini tetap ingin kembali ke Malaysia, tidak percaya dengan hoax yang disampaikan oleh media besar seperti Al Jazeera ini. Kenapa? Karena mereka sudah tahu, pekerja migran yang sekarang ada di luar ini kenapa ngotot ingin kembali ke Malaysia, karena sudah tahu Malaysia itu memang memperlakukan pekerja migran yang legal itu dengan best, dengan layak, dan dengan sepatutnya. Jadi kalau menurutku kalian boleh nonton video. Jadi kalau menurut saya kalian boleh nonton video dari Al Jazeera-nya itu sendiri, berita mengenai Malaysia, lockdown Malaysia. Dan kalian boleh tahu mana yang betul dan mana yang hoax. Kalian boleh sebarkan yang mana yang betul dan kalian stop untuk memberitakan yang hoax. Sama sekali bukan kebaikan yang disiarkan oleh Al Jazeera ini. Mengapa mereka tidak menyebarkan juga apa yang dilakukan oleh Malaysia mengenai kebaikan seperti charity ataupun hal-hal lainnya yang baik mengenai Malaysia, justru memilih untuk menceritakan kejelekannya, dan itu pun ternyata hoax. Saya pun menginginkan Al Jazeera ini, pihak Al Jazeera ini, khususnya wartawan yang ini, meminta maaf kepada Kerajaan Malaysia dan juga kepada warga Malaysia karena telah menyebarkan berita hoax. Oke, itu yang bisa saya sampaikan, dan mudah-mudahan video ini juga ada manfaatnya. Kalau misalkan kalian mau komen, saya juga nggak akan tutup komen, boleh komen di bawah. Dan silahkan like video ini jika kalian suka, dan subscribe jika kalian ingin update untuk video-video selanjutnya dari channel Cerita Mami Omar. Sampai jumpa di video selanjutnya. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Bye bye.
Kick.